Good evening, CFN. Hope everybody's had a fantastic weekend. Weather wasn't so bad, depending on what you guys were out doing, guys and gals. But this weekend seems like it's going to be somewhat nice, and I hope it's not going to take folks away from enjoying their last bit of ice fishing, if in fact that's what they're doing, or perhaps they're out catfishing this weekend, maybe going after some sucker. Yeah, I noticed. I forget who it was that posted. Somebody was down by the river and noticed that some of the steelhead or rainbow trout, depending on what you aspire to, have already started to run up the river. Steve, I'm not sure if you've been down to the river, but I'm assuming the Ganny's got a few fish in it at about this time. And big shout out to Steve for all he does for our CFN crew, and we're going to be seeing him this weekend, of course, in Kitchener. Jim Fowler, thanks for all of your sharing, as well as you, Tony. Can't do this without some of you folks spreading the word. So we really appreciate it. And there's yet another man, Adrian. Thanks to all you do, my friend Bruce. Likewise, can't thank you enough, lads and lasses, for all of. Yes, in fact, Shane, I spoke to Mike actually today. And we have to put our heads together to get that ready. So yes, there is going to be a CFN fish off, and we will be making an announcement momentarily. But all I will say is Shimano, the good folks at Shimano have done a fantastic job making it worth your while to participate. There are some incredible prizes that we've already received, and yeah, so stay tuned to that. It's going to be freaking awesome. Stephen, nice to see you as well. Thanks for all your support, Joel. Likewise, I hope that your parents. I noticed there's still some folks that don't have power. I'm hoping that's not your folks because they were the first to go off, from what I remember. But there are folks out in the Peterborough area post CanCast that still do not have power. So, Joel, hopefully your parents do. James, nice to see you as well. Thanks for all your sharing. We'll get to all that shortly because we do have lots of folks to. Crappy, yeah, baby. Yes, crappy. That very, very, very true. Yeah, you will. You will shortly in a sec, Joe. We'll get to that. Walter's in the house, and he will be the person to contact if, in fact, you are looking for one of these. But we'll show you that in a sec. We got lots to talk about, lots to get to. Yep, loaded in the Ganny. Figured as much. Rob, nice to see you as well. It is an honor to have you folks here. And what is even more of an honor is when you put something together and you try to host an event, the one thing that you have to count on, you really have to count on, is that the people that you work with are as like-minded as you. And I got to take this second right now because, folks, if you don't know, and Brad likes to stay sort of in the shadows, but Brad Norris has done an incredible job laying out, relaying to make sure that we didn't have a waiting list, that we could have every single one of our vendors that have a desire to be at the Kitchener show actually have a booth at the Kitchener show. So big shout out to Brad, who has furiously been working very, very hard to accommodate. And I'll give you an example how this has grown, because of course, if you don't know, you will after this show. We have the Made in Canada tackle show going on this weekend. And I have to say, I was pretty excited when I saw this post. This went up about, I want to say a month ago. I think Brad put this together. Thing that you have to notice is there are 40 plus vendors at this point. That has grown. It has grown. In fact, I am proud to now say that we currently are expecting 60 plus vendors to show up at the Made in Canada tackle show in Kitchener. 60 plus vendors. So we are basically busted at the seams. We have allotted all the space we can possibly allot. I want to thank the folks at Bingemans for being a huge help putting this all together. Some last minute changes, but needless to say, there is a lot going on this weekend that we are hoping you folks are going to be able to join us and have a blast yourself. Usually it's always a good time at one of these events. But again, it doesn't happen without the right people doing the right thing and helping out. And I'll tell you, I have so many people to thank. Brad, I wanted to thank you first and foremost because of all the efforts that you've done behind the scenes and never really wanting, to take center stage. But let me tell you, this wouldn't happen without Brad. But there's been a few notables that I want to pay homage to as well. Mississauga Bassmasters shared this, and I want to thank Mississauga Bassmasters for doing that because, again, it gets the word out there. Not only are their club members going to know this, but folks that maybe follow that club. Maybe they're not members. They live in the Mississauga area. Kitchener's not that far. This is very important, when it comes when you're as a show host to see these kind of shares. So big shout out to Mississauga Bassmasters for helping us out. That helps immensely. And then, of course, we've got the good folks here at Grandpa's Tackle Box who are going to be selling. You see the show special there, $5 for the bladed Arky jigs. Not a bad deal. I mean, you can't go wrong. So again, they shared it in such a way that helped promote a sale that they're having at the show. Can't thank them enough for that. But it's that kind of support that it just allows this to grow. Our good buddy James Shembry, same thing. This show was really tailored to folks like Got a Bite and James Shembry, where it provides them a feasible and realistic opportunity to promote their product. And when I say promote their product, I'm not just saying any product on the shelf. Like what James is putting together truly is something to behold, and I'm honored and proud to have him a part of our show. But a big shout out to James and the Got a Bite family for sharing this up. Again, I can't say enough about our beloved Handlebars Musculore family, the entire Parker family. They started the show season at our Chatham show, and they're going to finish the season off here at the Made in Canada this weekend. And to all of the Parker family and anybody who's a part of the Handlebars team, we can't thank you enough for your support. So looking forward to seeing these wonderful folks here. And they're going to have, those show specials, those boxes, the mystery boxes they have. You'd be crazy not to buy one because whatever the value is, if it's a $50 value, it's probably got $75 to $100 worth. If it's a $100 value, I'm sure even more. But they also have mystery boxes for bass, and I'm hoping that they'll be able to show up with a few of those. They had them at CanCast, and I'm hoping they'll have it for our show as well. But as I said, just stop in if you could. Give Mikey a hug for me, Dana a kiss. At the end of the day, we there's a lot that CFN couldn't have done without these wonderful people. So again, big shout out to the Parkers. Another one that's really cool, of course, is Fishing Frenzy. And Mike Sklad and his team are not only going to be at the show, but they're going to be entertaining the kids. So if you have kids or of kids or people that are coming and need to know, is there anything there for the kids to do? It's right there at Fishing Frenzy. And this is the league that has grown. It's the little league that has grown into a very large league. And big shout out to Tyler Brooks and, of course, Horwood Lake Lodge for stepping up in a way to help make this feasible and make this accessible to a lot of anglers in a host of areas. But I don't know how many leagues Mike started with. We're definitely going to have him on the show to talk more about it. But Fishing Frenzy will be there. So if you are looking for something for the kids to do, Fishing Frenzy is definitely somewhere you want to stop. And we want to thank them, for, of course, for all the support for allowing us to get the message out there. This gentleman can't, not enough can be said about Derek and the Fishery.ca crew. They have some show specials as well. They did a fantastic job at CanCast. They were handing out bags, which, it used to be easy and, maybe affordable. You'd see it all over the place. Not so much, especially the plastic ones. So, they designed some cloth bags, and I think they handed them out to the first 100 or 200 people at CanCast. It's innovative stuff like this that these folks over at Fish Easy that are doing that, again, we can't thank them enough. And then last but not least, we saw this today, and Brad and I were talking about it before we went live. When you see stuff like this, man, I'm telling you, this is going beyond. It made me speechless this morning. But Kat, I can't thank enough for you and whoever it was that was your camera person. You guys did a fantastic job. So have a listen to Catherine Bowden talk about how OWA is going to be involved in the show.
Here in Kitchener, there is going to be the Canadian-made tackle show. Wanted to share with you that Ontario Woman Angler will have a booth at this event, and our goal is to be able to provide information for women who are interested in learning more about fishing, or women who love to fish that would like to get together and to know some more lady anglers. So come on over, check us out at the booth. We'll be there to answer as many questions as we can, or just to say hello and let's go fishing. So have a great day.
You just made ours a wonderful day. What's so cool about that video is not that they just put it together, but it has been shared time and time again. And before we went to air, had over 7,000 views. I'm speechless. I don't even know what to say other than thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you. This is shaping up to be quite a show. Looking forward to seeing George as well, Bruce. This is going to be a great event. Looking so much forward to it. And again, Cam McIntosh has stepped up in a huge, huge way. You will see this poster posted. You will see a QR code similar to that. In fact, if you got your phones with you, I'm not sure if you watch it on your phones or your computers, but if you want to just hover over that QR code, it will take you right to Camp McIntosh, which of course will be important in about a minute or two. But I'd love for you folks just to go over there and click on it because Brad, again, put this together like that. So as I said, you will have a chance not only as a participant, but also a vendor. So when you see this poster, make sure only one entry is allowed. Make sure that you enter for your chance to win a 2-night stay for 2 at Camp McIntosh. And we can't say enough wonderful things about them. And then, of course, last but not least, our good buddy, Big Jim, who is the beloved Hall of Famer, beloved panel representative, informative, go-to goat. Well, you mean there are so many adjectives that you could use for this name, for this gentleman. That his name is almost doesn't do it justice. It is big. It should be huge, Jim McLaughlin, just because of everything he's done for this industry. But we'll have a chance to talk to him shortly. But I thought it was really cool, that he took the time and is able to make it to this show. And I'm sure the folks that are going to be coming are going to really appreciate his time. So we'll get a chance to talk to him real soon. Upcoming, because we have our entire panel here tonight. I'm happy to say that not only Jim's here, Lawrence is here, and of course, Jay Barnucz. This is our 10th anniversary. It is going to be a year-long celebration, and I want to take a moment right now just to thank this guy right here for continuing his efforts when it comes to making sure that all of our CFNers have this wonderful swag on their backs. And if you're looking for a flex fit hat, I know a guy. His name is Richard Dunlop. And I will say this, he will certainly help you out. Now, everybody's been asking. Yes, they are in. They are officially in. This is the 10th anniversary commemorative jersey. It is absolutely a fantastic. I mean, it's just beautiful. Our sponsors who are on it, of course, all of the provincial logos down below. We've got OSC Nation and Shimano. This is the short sleeve version. So if you're into short sleeves, this is the one to go to. But Walter put this together, and our good buddy Dan Coates over at premier.ca. If you're interested in purchasing one of these, and I'll mention why. Not only is it a commemorative jersey, which means it's going to have a start date and an end date. So if you want to cash in and make sure that you have a 10th anniversary jersey, this is the year to do it. And here's another reason why. If you haven't heard, the Derby on Wheels is an initiative that we are putting together slowly behind the scenes. We want to make it active, and we want it to go live in 2026, but there's a lot that needs to get done. First and foremost, we have to buy a trailer first. All of the proceeds, obviously we got to pay Dan. We got to pay shipping and all that, but all of the proceeds that are left over, every last penny is going towards our Derby on Wheels initiative. So when you buy a jersey, you're not only investing in CFN, but you're investing in our Derby on Wheels initiative, which will allow us, CFN, to help other clubs, other groups, other marinas, fishing game clubs. We'll be able to bring them the means for them to host the Derby. So let's say they have 50 kids. Well, they don't have 50 rods. Maybe, they've got a small budget, but they just want to get kids fishing. That's where we'll step in. If folks reach out to Shimano, say, hey, listen, Scottie, we've got a group that's, very passionate, and then, they just don't have the means. Can you help them out? We'll literally be taking those calls and saying, yeah, what do you need? We've got 200 pre-strung rods. We've got a cooler with some worms in it. We've got a cooktop that was donated by Enbridge, so we'll be able to cook some food. Well, there'll be a PA system in the trailer, so you'll be able to broadcast to your audience, as well as, I'm hoping, if all goes well, a Starlink inside the trailer as well, so they can broadcast to the rest of the world. But some very cool things, very cool initiatives, and as I said, it's all going to be generated by the purchase and sale of these jerseys. So thanks just a ton to Walt for making sure this is available. But yeah, if you support Canadian, this weekend is definitely the show to come. Now, if you want to join us at some of our other events, of course, we have the 7th annual CFN retreat happening at Horwood Lake Lodge, August 10th to the 16th. Maybe you can't come to the show, but you'd still want to be a part of the group and the community. And it's funny, we get asked a lot from new people to come to the community. They're like, what's the annual fee? How much do you have to pay to join? Nothing, man. It shouldn't. I know that things cost money, and so far, knock on wood, we've been very lucky with some very key sponsors and supporters over the years that have bridged that gap. But at the end of the day, it's all about accessibility and making people feel welcomed. As soon as you got to pay these days, it's I don't know, it takes on a different flavor. Maybe it's just me, but no, free of charge. But as I said, some of our events, like our 7th annual Horwood Lake Lodge CFN retreat, the good folks up there, Doris and Warren, were able to keep it under 1,000. And with everything that's going up right now, we're still not sure how they're able to do this. But it's a great place to spend some time catching fish, eating fish, and being part of a really cool group of people. Love to see you there. So as I said, please reach out to Warren and Doris. That's all the information you need. Somehow, some way, we are going to be also fitting in a North Channel Walleye Open. This is going to grow. This was months ago that we had $43K in cash and prizes. It's over 50. In fact, I do believe now it's over 60,000 in cash and prizes. A big shout out to Barnucz, who just signed on as our new volunteer, new partner, new sponsor. They're going to be helping out in a huge, huge way. So if you're heading north, head into Barnucz, buy whatever it is you need, and just support those who support us. And of course, it is Monday. It wouldn't be a typical Monster Monday without a fish like this. Our good buddy Kevin Fernandez caught this 2 years ago at our OFC Nation retreat. This is going to be the 4th annual. And if you want to upgrade a personal best in smallmouth, pike, perhaps walleye, but especially muskie, Camp McIntosh is your place to go. And they are a huge supporter of CFN, and we are so honored to have them a part of our group because they do some wonderful things. So as I said, if you want to reach out to Andre and Tracy the old-fashioned way, by all means, that's all the information that you need there. If you have your phone free, you can click on the QR code, and it'll take you right to their website. So love to see you folks there. It's going to be yet another great time. And last but not least, of course, the Kingston CISA Canadian International Sport Fishing Association Bass Extravaganza is going to be happening this August 28th to the 31st in Kingston. It is also going to have an expo that is going to be hosted by yours truly, the Made in Canada Tackle Show and Marketplace. So Brad and I are going to be putting this together and are in the process of putting this together. We have some great vendors that have already signed up. So if you are interested, We will be handing out a circular right after our show, as well as at the show, to all of our vendors that are going to be there. And if there's 60 plus vendors, there's going to be 60 potential vendors showing up at this event in Kingston. So keep this on your calendar, keep this on the tip of your mind. But as I said, lots happening, lots going on. And hopefully I've done a half decent job explaining at least some of it. In the meantime, we have our good buddy, Big Jim McLaughlin, coming up right after his intro.
When he was born, he tried to reel in the umbilical cord. Bass named him as their personal best. His power pole came with a stripper. Forward-facing sonar uses him to find fish. Chuck Norris is his co-angler. He is the most interesting fisherman in the world. Stay fishing, my friends.
There he is, the one and only Big Jim McLaughlin.
What's going on?
How you doing, my friend?
Well, we're just about finished just fishing, so
Yeah, baby.
should be ready to go by the end of the week. Hey, Lloyd.
That's awesome. Yeah, Jim, as I said, it is, it was kind of unexpected. I as I said, reaching out to you, I always wanted you to feel welcome, but it is a bit of a trek to come. But the fact that you are making the voyage to Kitchener, dude, it took
About 4 hours each way. So
it's just I really appreciate you doing this.
well, Scottie, it's good because I don't have any problem driving.
Yeah, no, I know.
The issue I have has nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it at all. So that's not the hard part.
Well, as I said, being there, dude, as a Hall
Hey,
of
Wally.
Famer and I want to say true GOAT of the angling community, it is truly an honor to have you there, my friend. Looking forward to it.
Appreciate it.
Now, you were busy this past weekend. If I'm not mistaken, you were at a open house of sorts down at
I was over at Tight Lines in Cornwall. They've moved twice in like 3 years. The first time they moved into this mall that they're in, it's an old industrial mall. And now they moved around the corner and they're in a store that's probably, you've been here. It's probably the size of my house if you squared it off.
Wow.
It's monstrous. It's huge. And they have got stuff there. I walked in the door and I got excited. Like I froze in the door. Like,
wow.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, I've seen a lot of tackle stores, and to walk in the door like that and look at this and see it all, I was beyond. I was all day long, like my eyes were sore on the drive home from looking at stuff.
Now, great that there's an open house, and usually there's some deals that are associated with it. But based on what you're telling me, he had a good crowd there. There was a good crowd.
It was nonstop for 3 days. Lee from Shimano was there. He was there all 3 days. He helped them move and set up the store and everything, especially with the Shimano stuff, obviously, and get it all together and that. But yeah, man, it was like non-stop. Well, I was telling you, one guy came in and bought 8 Vanfords.
Think about that. Like, what is that? That's like 2,400 roughly?
Yeah, a little more probably. Yeah. Oh no, wait, because I think they're what, 339 or something.
Oh, okay, all right. So over $3,000, let's just say.
Coming up on 3 when you look at the tax and everything.
And you think about this, Jim. With
you didn't pay tax. Yeah.
All of this uncertainty, the fact that I can understand someone coming in and maybe buying one van or 2, but to buy that many, like,
well, it would be in right now, just when it's about to open the fish, like the river's done there. The guys were catching perch. There's guys out there just whacking walleyes like there's no tomorrow, and it's just really, really cool to watch. I had a nice treat. Erica came in to see us. Erica Beeler.
Hey!
She came in. She bought herself a nice Clarus rod for walleye fishing.
Nice.
Yeah, and she hung around for a while, and then she got to do the Shimano's popcorn machine there with the balls in it. With
yes.
The numbers on it. And they got she got the ball. She won a Jackal prize pack with $120 worth of baits in it.
Oh man!
There's one guy goes there, right, and he's like a big guy, and you could tell he was like one of those guys that's big and noisy and everything, but And Hardy's just like, he's like a fraidy cat. You could just tell.
Okay.
They start up the machine, and as he goes to put his hand in, I said to him, watch out, one of the balls has a razor blade in it.
Oh, Jim.
He couldn't have brought his hand out faster. He almost knocked the machine over, getting his arm out fast enough, eh? And of course, he's got three other buddies with him. So you know what that means now, eh?
Oh, dear Lord.
He came to me after. He says to me, "Oh my God, I couldn't believe when you said that." I said, "I was just kidding." He said, "Oh, I knew you were kidding, but I don't know why I pulled my hand out." I said, "Because you were scared."
Okay, well, none of that stuff this weekend, Jim. You got to be on your best behavior.
And then there was a little girl, and I told her to watch out for the lobster.
Oh.
And she's looking and looking. She didn't want to put her hand in, eh? Because I always do that with the kids with the bag when I go to things and let them get stuff out of the bag. I say, "Watch out for the lobster," and they pull their hand back out, eh? I used to have one in there. Remember we had it in the minnow bucket at the kids' pond, the little red lobster, Sebastian the crab?
Yes. Yep.
In the crab, I used to have them in my bag. I've had that thing for 20 years.
Always for a good laugh, always for a smile.
How many I'm scared with it?
Well, this is the thing. Yeah, 100%. Jim, I did want to share something that you shared with me, and just to have a little bit of discussion on it, because it brings to light, the concern that folks like yourself, like Linder, Gord Pizer's another one that we brought up before we went live. But folks like the Lindners, folks like yourself, folks like Gord Pizer have done a phenomenal job teaching us how to fish. And it seems lately, and you can mirror this, but we've heard Gord, who's very passionate about, catch and release and the concern forward-facing sonar might have on, populations. Linders exposed something that is going on down in Minnesota, or is it Wisconsin? No, it's Minnesota.
Minnesota, I believe, yeah.
And I didn't know it was happening, but it's something that we've talked about, you and I, when it comes to the daily catch limits for certain species of fish.
It's not on all the lakes. I didn't get a chance to go delve into it today because we're finishing the newspaper, but it's it's pretty wild.
It is. So I'm gonna play the video, but again, I'd love to see a show of hands. How many people would be in favor of something like this here in Ontario or even Canadian waters?
Aren't kidding, there are big crappies in here. When it came unbuttoned, I like that.
That fish that Jake just released there, that's a real big crappie no matter where you fish in the country. And our home state of Minnesota started to implement some years back harvest restrictions. So you can't, we used to be at 20, I remember way back 25 fish for years were common, and they cut back. And now, to protect bigger fish like that, we've got a lot of lakes that you can only take 5 fish. That's the limit. And we're seeing more quality fish than we've ever seen before on our crappie fishery and our bluegill fishery. So the management is changing a little bit. That's plenty of pounds of fish to catch. You fillet 5 nice, decent-sized crappies, you got a good meal. And you're also increasing the odds of having better bites in the future of quality fish. I'm a big fan of some of these regulations, that's for sure.
I have to ask, Jim, are you as equally a fan?
I'd be right with it. I understand. You get a place like Simcoe, maybe you could make it 10 or have a two-day possession limit or something like that, because it's a destination type place you go, and it could hurt tourism a little bit, but in the bottom line is you won't have to worry about tourism if the fish are gone. There were so many places that I knew when I was younger, and the fishing was lights out, and there was lots of little, 10 cabin things, one at one end of the lake, one up this creek, one at the other end, that type of thing, and they're all gone now.
Yep.
You can still catch a lot of fish in the lakes, but it's not what it used to be. And that's because of that. And I don't believe that lakes ever go back to being the way they were when you first tapped them. I had lakes that I walked into ice fishing. You've heard me talk about the little bluegill lake. Azumi's been there. Tom Grunwald's been there. Dave Gens has been there. Who else? Tim Allard's been there several times. but I'm talking about big names from Ted Takasaki's been there.
Wow.
That we brought these guys there, and that's not far from Big Rito. And now you go and it's good, but I mean, we used to catch pumpkin seeds in there and bluegills that were 10 and 11 inches long, like often. Like picture, well, look. There's an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Who's caught a bluegill that big?
Not this guy.
No. And there's only a few places I've ever found that you could do it, and you could do it consistently. Now, we weren't keeping them. I only ever kept one. I don't even know where the picture is. It used to hang here because it died. I put it down the hole like 10 times, and it died. So I threw it in the bucket with a half a dozen others that I kept that day. And I kept one crappie that ate a jigging wrap in its gills. It just took the rod out of my hands.
Wow.
But yeah, and I mean, it was never the same, and we weren't even keeping them, and it was never the same. Just when you get, the noise, people, pressure, fish react to that. They, especially ones that are never touched.
100%.
Yeah, like there's no boats on that lake. There's no place to put a boat in. If there's a boat there, it's a little tin boat, and there's one spot you can put it in. And I don't remember in my life driving past there and ever seeing like a car topper or a little trailer where they slid the boat down the hill. And I mean, sliding the boat down the hill, that's the place I told you about where I fell in the fish trap and slid down the hill like Chevy Chase there with the
Leaders, dudes.
all you saw was my feet up in the air in a fish trap.
Now, I'm surprised. Will, I appreciate you putting your hand up, but I'm sure there's others that would also agree with this, and I would love for folks to do that if you are listening. If at the end of the day you feel that the limits currently right now when it comes to coarse fish like bluegill, like crappie, like perch, does it need to be the number that it is, or should we be revisiting those catch limits and total possession limits? I understand there's some lodges that Jim would hate for us even bringing this up, but they too have a vested interest to make sure that their fisheries are well managed.
Well, it's like I just told you, a lot of them are gone.
Yeah,
because they just, I mean, when you used to look up north, the number. Remember when we were kids, there was 10,000 lodges up north. They're not there anymore, and these are lakes that don't get a lot of pressure, and they've been beaten up. So imagine the ones that do. Yeah, he's talking about Lancaster. You used to go down the Lancaster. You could stop anywhere. You could catch perch until your arms were sore. And I mean, I told you the old story about the guy over here with the bucket. Well, I used to be able to fill 3 buckets a day here, and now because people got them all.
Yep.
You don't realize you just said you used to be able to fill 2 or 3 buckets a day.
100%. No.
We need to take care of them. It's the bottom line, eh?
Absolutely, 100%.
And I told you, I really for the people that haven't heard it, when I got put in the Hall of Fame, Dave Gens called me about a week after. And I was sitting at the end of the road with Tammy here. We were having a tea looking at the sunset. And the ice had just gone off the Cranberry Lake behind us here. And it was just one of those beautiful evenings. So it was still bits of ice floating around and that. The snow was all gone though. And he called me and we had a chat for about 15 minutes. And then we started talking about some stuff. And he started talking about this rock bass lake that he had been invited to, and he went there a couple of times, 2 or 3 years in a row, and they'd film shows and do whatever they did, and then all of a sudden he gets calls from the guys, and they say, we can't catch him anymore, and you can't catch them anymore because you brought them all home. It wasn't a big lake, and there'd be 400 and 500 fish traps on it on the weekend. I mean, they got pressure like they never got before, and they were done. And then he said to me, I can't believe this is happening. He said, I spent the first 3/4 of my life teaching people how to catch fish, and now I got to spend the last part begging and pleading with them to put them back in the water.
Well, and I think that's what we talked about before we went live, and it's so true that you see the passion, you see the concern in a guy like Gord's face, when he said, the limit is there to tell you when you've had enough, because you need to be told. Some people need to be told, and it's unfortunate, but folks like yourself, folks like Gord, the Lindners, my Lord, you guys have done a fantastic job promoting fishing, but also helping us learn how to catch fish. And now, your reward for that is to now say, okay, I think we did too good of a job. You guys got to start putting some of this stuff back.
Well, I told you last year when I was sitting down here and I had the crappies in the bucket.
Yeah.
I had about 6, I think it was 5 or 6 in the bucket, and I put all the big ones back. I got some that night. I caught the biggest ones I caught since I'd been here. They were like 14 inches.
Yeah.
And I caught them on crankbaits, so I was having a hoot. That's my deal, And I look in the bucket a couple of times, and I look at them about to leave, and geez, I tilt the bucket and put them back in. I thought that the lake needed them more than I did. And that's really true. People need to realize this. It's not going to happen in my lifetime, and it's not going to happen in most of the people watching's lifetime. But down the road, there's going to be a huge problem. The fish are going to be gone.
Well, and this is the thing, that it seems to be an echoing message, no matter where you are. But I will say, folks in Minnesota are very passionate about all this. And our good buddy Brett from, I believe it is the Sporting Journal, talked about it on his latest podcast. And what's really interesting is if you listen right to the end, because the gentleman at the end sums it up so perfectly, there is a chance that they might just close lakes. And if this were walleye, would it be closed? It's a great point that he brings up, but have a listen. I love it.
Well, perch on Mille Lacs will be reduced from 20 to 5. This is causing some consternation among anglers.
Some uproar.
They are not happy about it. I don't know. As I was talking to a buddy of mine, he said, you know what, 10 would have been a better option because I can go over there and catch my 10 and bring it back and cook a meal for my wife and I. 5, it's almost like, and Darren Trosseth even commented about it, saying, I'm not going to make a trip to Mille Lacs to catch 5.
Right.
Well, here's the thing. If the resource needs help, I don't care what you can bring home.
Well, there's that.
I mean, it's not about what you can catch and bring home all the time. And again, it's Mille Lacs, so there's also some tribal treaty things going on here. So
that's number one, I think. But
yeah, it is.
The as we saw this spring, obviously fishing was pretty good. It didn't seem like there was a shortage of them.
For what?
Or this winter for perch. Sorry.
Well, so let me read it right here. I've got it pulled up on sportingjournalradio.com. State licensed anglers share the perch harvest on Mille Lacs with Ojibwe tribes that retain fishing rights by treaty. To conserve the fishery, an annual safe harvest level is cooperatively established by the state and tribes through a government-to-government co-management process. Each party then sets fishing regulations to stay within their share of the harvest. As of February 23rd, the state has harvested more than 43,000 pounds of perch, exceeding its share of the harvest of 36,500 pounds. So, by that,
I didn't even know there was a quota for perch with that deal.
I'm guessing most people didn't because we haven't seen fishing like this in a long time and it hasn't been worried about. But now we're there, and so it's honestly surprising you can even keep a perch, because if that was walleyes, it'd be shut down immediately. So be thankful you can even keep 5.
Mic drop.
Well, see, I said the same thing too about Simcoe. There's some water can support it, and some can't. And Simcoe can support it,
Yeah.
It's what it is. But then, 10 years from now, then they'll be cutting it from 10 to 5.
100%.
Look at the number of people fishing for burbot now.
Yeah.
The number of people. You watch, it's coming. There's limits in some places in the States now. And 15 years ago, nobody knew what they were. 5 years ago up here, for the most part, nobody knew what they were.
Yep.
I know guys that went over. I'm not going to name the lakes here. But I know guys that were out this year, and they're not friends of mine. And they would go in the evening and they would stay till dark or after dark, and they would fill 5-gallon pails, like 3, 4, 5 of them, because they're really good to eat. And they would bring them home, and they do that 2 or 3 times a winter. There's nobody needs 50 pounds of fish. If you go out and catch, 3 25-pound salmon and put them in the fridge, that's a different thing. But
100%.
No, it's going to change it.
Trevor brings up a great point. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the panfish limits in Lake Erie on the Ohio side is 10 per person. I believe you're right, Trevor. And I believe 10 perch is enough for the average Joe. And that's on a lake that has commercial fishing. It has a good population of perch. It was definitely better But there are some concerns that the population, I don't want to say is in trouble, but they're certainly not hitting the numbers that they were before. So there is a bit of a concern. But Jim, in your opinion, Lake Erie, you've been on that Lake Erie enough. You've done enough fishing. 10 perch. That seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, very much so. And 10 perch is 20 pieces of fish.
Yeah.
When you cook them.
Yeah.
Depending if you're good with a fillet knife. If not, it could be 40 or 50. No.
But now, does that same limit apply if you go inland on a smaller lake? Is 10 enough?
Yeah, it might not support it. Like they said, it's not on all the lakes. Eh?
Exactly.
On certain lakes, and like even like Mill Lacs, there was a lot of stuff there. I know, I forget what it was. The numbers with the walleyes, you could only take 2 or whatever it was for a few years, and in no time they came back. I mean, like, look at the way that is walleye still closed on Scugog?
Yes.
Yeah. So, there's a lake that one that we all know, and it's been burned.
Yeah.
It's been burned. Like they don't think it's coming back. I know guys that say, "Well, I catch a lot of walleyes out there." Yeah, but it's still not good enough. It's not enough. You're a really good fisherman too. That's the other thing.
Yeah, George brings up some great points, and he did share an interesting article for me, and I believe it is in Utah. I might have it wrong, George, but very interesting. It was very hard for me to read because they're targeting walleye as an invasive species. It's hard for me to I even comprehend that walleye could be an invasive species, and I had a hard time listening to it and listening about the fact that they're being targeted on the Columbia River for what they're doing for the salmon and trout population. But in this, I believe it's Utah, they found their way in. They were illegally released. And now they're being sought by anglers, and I don't know if there's a bounty on them quite yet, but yeah, they're being asked to be fished to extinction, which is hard for us to believe.
Stuff going on down east now,
Yeah. No, 100%. Jim, as always, my friend, we really appreciate your time, and again, I look forward to seeing you this Saturday, as we all do, in Kitchener for our
couple of things I want to show you before I go.
Yes, absolutely.
So I had a couple of these last year. I had one that I used. I went down here one day, and it was nice and calm in the fall, and all the crap was gone, and I got a spinning rod and just a big drop shot hook, and I put one of these on. I wasn't fishing it on a drop shot. I just used the hook. It was there. It'll serve the purpose. These things here that you see a lot of the people call them dice and stuff like that, eh? So I found these ones on the weekend. They're called Q bombs. They're made by, who were they made by? G-Crack. They're made by G-Crack. I found them. They're kind of cool. They come 4 in a box. There's a few more inside there. You can see they're a little bit pricey. They're $4 a piece plus tax. But yeah, I look forward to trying these. I just like the looks of them. I like the way they're in a ball, not a dice, for the movement.
It looks like something you hang on a Christmas tree. Like what? Someone has to explain to me what in the wild looks like that.
On it and let it spin.
Like, is that a dock spider? Like what could possibly?
I don't know, but I know they eat them. I got a bit off for mine. A bit off for mine. I only got to make half a cast. It was gone. Like I saw the line jump, and I thought, there's beginner's luck, and there was nothing there. It was gone. So,
Erica, yeah. I'm with you. They look so different, but someone has to explain to me what on earth makes a fish go after something like that.
Started getting a few more things too. I got some more flat side crankbaits from Jackal, the Bling 55s.
Oh, your favorite.
So I got some in that finish, and then I wanted to try something different. I'm not a big guy for patterns like this, but I know I did so well with the Macbeths in that mustard color.
Yep.
And I've always been a big fan of gold and orange and baits like that. So I've got those, and I got some more of the Flash Boost cranks from Shimano. And I decided to try some in that crawfish with the little red touch on the lip there.
Yeah.
What is it they call it? Green croc. But once again, you can see the flash in those things. You can see it letting itself go there. I got some more of those. Got some of my reels in. I got something I'm trying for the first time this year in the smaller size is the Tranks.
Sweet.
I'm gonna try some of those. It's only a 150 size, so that go right in my hand. I love it. I get a good grip on it that way. And my old favorite over the last couple of years has become the SLX, and I've been using the
DC version.
no, that's just an XT.
That's the XT.
I've been using the XTs, and they're all high end. They're all 8.2. I've always been more of a fan of high end reels. I figure I could govern myself to turn the handle slower, and if I need speed, because they take up, I think it's 32 inches of line every time you turn the handle, so almost a yard of line.
Incredible.
So that's a lot of line coming in the boat. But that's just a few things. There'll be more showing up here all the time. Oh, it's so funny today. Tammy and I are sitting here. She's working on Just Fish and finishing up, in fact, Tightline's ad for the issue about the new store. And I hear, beep, beep, and it's a Cam Park truck backing up. I turned into a lunatic. I was like a 13-year-old girl going to the prom. You know what I mean? Or whatever.
Oh, because of this. Oh, yes.
Because I know there's stuff coming, new stuff. Eh? And she said to me after, she said to me, "You just never grew up about that." I was like, when you see a baby and it gets excited. I was like that. And the guy comes to the door and said, "Come here, give me that." And I pull him in the door with it. He knows me, eh? He's got his Shimano t-shirt on. He's delivering Cam Park. Must have had it in the truck. I knew he was coming to my house, so he wanted to impress me.
That's wild.
Oh God, he was laughing. But I've been like that for years. I get excited about.
Well, who wouldn't? Exactly. Who wouldn't?
Yeah. I have to run down to the lake and cast and everything else, so it's good. But,
that's awesome.
My buddies are back too, eh? The geese.
The swans too.
Yeah. Oh, the swan! They're everywhere here.
Wow.
And they're so big. They were back. There was 2 over by the dock the other morning because the ice went out on April 4th again.
Yeah, you said that. I showed. Yeah.
I showed you. Somebody wrote it on the drawer in the vanity in 1968. The ice has gone out 6. I think it's 6 of the 10 years we've been here on April 3rd or 4th.
Wow. Good stuff to know.
Funny when you think of it, eh?
Yeah.
60 years.
Good stuff to know.
60 years, and it's still the ice here still goes on almost the same day, the vast majority of the time.
Yep, true enough.
Yeah, that's what it is. Anyways, I'll see you this weekend.
100%. Thanks for your time. Thanks for everything you do.
Always. I enjoy being here. You know that, eh?
I know.
I enjoy being here. I'm still waiting for that check to clear, though. You told me about that.
I am too. You be good, Jim. We'll see you.
Have a good day. Be safe out there.
All the best. We got Lawrence coming up right after a word from our sponsor.
What is Flash Boost? Shimano designed innovative Flash Boost technology. It keeps flashing, which attracts fish whether in a pause or while retrieving. The mirror plate, which is fixed by a spring inside the body, vibrates with the lure action to generate diffuse reflection. Even if you stop the lure action, the inner plate will move and continue to flash, giving the lure a sense of life and inviting a fish bite. This is Flash Boost.
Little drum roll.
This is Lawrence Gunther.
No Flash Boost though. I'm missing my Flash Boost.
No,
I lost my Flash Boost somewhere.
Well, we
find it
you last week. I will say, Lawrence, it just wasn't the same without you.
Oh,
I know you were busy and you had lots on the go, but
yeah,
missed some of your updates and fish news that we look forward to every week. But can you tell us a little bit about what you were up to last weekend?
Well, it was a bit of a surprise and a sad moment in our family. My brother's eldest boy died suddenly in his bed. He was 40 years old and just passed away in his sleep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we just discovered him. They just found him on Monday. So it was, what happened to him. It was a bit of a scramble. So I'm heading down there on Saturday for the funeral. And yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, sorry to hear about that.
Yeah.
And for all those who are mourning his loss, our thoughts.
He was an avid angler, and he just loved fishing. And, I remember even from the very young age, he was just had a passion for fishing and all his whole life.
Oh, yeah. The angling community loses another good one.
Yeah.
Oh, Tough. Well, on that note, let's
onwards and upwards.
The mood up. Yeah, let's cheer up the mood.
Yeah.
So some of the things that have been going on, obviously, some of it's politically motivated for those who are trying to get that edge up on their competition or whoever it is that they're running against. So in a lot of those cases, it's all sensationalized, and for a lot of reasons, don't really want to share it because we don't want folks buying into what could potentially just be lip services. So let's leave that alone. But there's a lot of other stuff that's happening, and I think one of the biggest concerning factors that I see that could potentially be rearing its ugly head is if we don't put money to this decaying lamprey, the protection. We're going to see the results of that in the very near future, and that has me concerned that we're starting to pull back on some of that funding.
Yeah, it's more it's being pulled back on this American side of the border, not the Canadian side. But it's it's the Great Lakes Fishery Commission. It gets its funding from both sides, both governments. It's one of these binational agencies, and so this is, I can't imagine. I think this is just one of those, another one of those hasty cuts that just, somehow these guys got caught up in that, and hopefully that'll be straightened out before long.
Well, and the biggest thing is, regardless of who gets in the power next, my biggest concern is what is that cooperative effort going to look like? When we're too busy tariffing folks and each other, like how do we even enter or fathom the idea of having a partnership with our American brothers and sisters to the south when it comes to fishery management efforts, Lawrence?
Even if Canada bumped up their contribution to funding, we can't hire people in the United States to go on to rivers in the United States that feed into the Great Lakes and apply lampricide, right?
Yeah,
it's not possible. So I think the Great Lakes Fishery Commission it started in the 1950s. And it's 75 years old almost, and it's just been done a fantastic job of researching fish, researching the lamprey and other issues now, and getting involved in so many areas of managing the fish and looking after the fish and observing and understanding what's going on. It's because of their effort. The Great Lakes are stronger in terms of their fisheries than they have been over 100 years. Absolutely.
I have to agree, and some of the science and findings that are coming out of the Great Lakes Commission is truly inspiring. Like you see the telemetry projects that they're now able to make it live, so that folks like us can see how far these fish are migrating. I think that is the coolest thing that's hit social media, in my opinion, when it comes to fish migration. But the effectiveness of the Great Lakes Commission, in your opinion. Do you see their powers being relinquished because we're not going to have that cooperative effort with our brothers and sisters of the South?
A lot of what they do relies on science. A lot of the people they hire are science. They have committees and they're made up of over 200 volunteer scientists that participate on these various committees that are doing the research. So here's a body of experts that are, the different governments on the different sides of the border have, these experts, these scientists are contributing their time. Their time is being contributed to take part on these committees, these research committees, to put their heads together and figure out things, understand things. Without the scientists, it's going to be a problem, right? You take away the scientists, and you got a big hole. You got a big intelligent hole that's going to be hard to fill. It's going to be hard to fill. So I don't know, the amount of staff that the Fishery Commission actually hires and has on staff is relatively small compared to the number of people that actually do all the heavy lifting. But those people all get paid from their other agencies that they're working with in Canada. It's the Canadian Water Agency, that provides a lot of the staff. And their scientists going to and being part of these committees. In the States, it's NOAA and other organizations. So it's this.
Well, it has me a little concerned because I think some of the efforts that are being done, and we've recently heard some great news when it comes to an influx of money when it for Canadian hatcheries and some of the hatchery programs that are in existence now. So it's almost a good news story on this side of the border, but unfortunately, with everything that's being plagued with this current trade war, I don't know. Like, I mean, you know, our folks on the American side going to be as passionate and concerned about their fisheries if they're having to share them with Canadian anglers? I mean, I don't know. I'm thinking outside the box and hypothetically, but at the end of the day, how much vested interest are these Americans going to have when it comes to Canadian run species of fish or Canadian run fisheries? Like, you know, you deal with your stuff, we'll deal with ours, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, look, the national parks in the United States, some of them are going under reduced hours. Some of them are having to shut down some of their campgrounds and some of their hours of operation because of shortages of staff. Just staff being cut, right? So, you know, and this Americans love going to their national parks and camping, and so look what's happening in Canada. If you're a camper, if you're an RV camper in Canada, and you want to go and hit provincial parks and national parks in Canada, the rate of reservation is 48% higher and more activity this year than it was at the same time last year. So that means, you know, Canadians are not thinking about camping crossing the border to going less and less are going to the south. They're going to stay in Canada, and a lot of Americans are going to come up to Canada because there's just less opportunity to do in the United States because, like I said, they're closing availability of campgrounds in the United States and their national parks. So you know, 48%, that's almost like a 50% increase in bookings in our provincial and national parks up here in Canada compared to last year, and last year was crazy busy as well.
Well, that's so true. And I recently just remember listening to a report about how Canadian travel to the States has dropped dramatically from, I think it was 40%, sort of at the precursor of this, you know, trade war that we're in now. But now that we're in full effect, it's dropped to as high as 60 and possibly as high as even 70%. It's been a decrease in bookings across the board. Like, well, I don't know that.
Yeah, it can be a little scary. It can be a little scary. Like if an American crosses a bridge and comes in onto Canada territory and says, "Hey, I'd like to come into Canada," and then the Canadian customs official starts asking questions, the American can say, "You know what? Never mind. Yeah, I'm not interested. I'm changing my mind." They can turn around and go home. They can leave the Canadian soil and cross the bridge or whatever, cross back onto the American soil and leave. If you're a Canadian, you cross over the American border and you know, with your vehicle or boat and say, "Hey, I want to come and visit," and it starts heating up a little bit, they can hold you. You can't say, "Never mind, I'm turning around and going back." They can hold you for up to 48 hours, and they can also ask to see your cell phone. So they're saying, like, you know, if you're involved in things on your cell phone, there's things going on, messages you're sharing, or, you know, news feeds you're following, you have to turn over your phone, have it unlocked so they can see who you're texting, who you're communicating with, the photographs that you're sharing, the news feeds, all of that stuff. And if they think, "Oh, yeah, look at this. Hey, look at this. Look this guy's following," then they can hold you and keep you for without, you know, pressing any charges. They can hold on to you for 48 hours. So some people are saying, and they're advising, that if you're crossing into the United States, carry a burner phone. Leave your regular phone at home. Just pick up one of those cheap phones, you know, with put a card in it and it's good for a month kind of thing. I don't know, like, who's got crap like that on their phone, but they're looking at your phones. They can.
I had no idea it's gone this far.
Yeah.
And was this just a one-off, or has this been happening on the regular?
Look, the ability to hold you at the border, that's been around for many years. That's been around. That catches Canadians by surprise all the time.
Yeah.
They can seize your vehicle. They can hold on to you. You can keep you from getting a lawyer for 48 hours. They can charge you. Then you have to go back and release you. Then you have to go back into the States for your federal hearing for what you've been charged with. And if they think, well, you know, you can get yourself into hot water pretty quick, and but now, you know, with all the things around border security, and they're thinking about, you know, fentanyl smuggling and other smuggling happening, and, you know, there's just a lot of more vigorous sort of control. I was in the States. I popped across there. I'm a member of the Save the River NGO board of directors. It's in Clayton, New York. So I went down for a meeting, and I had no trouble at all going across and coming back. They're always friendly. Actually, I find the American customs officials always more friendly than the Canadians coming back than the ones on the Canadian.
Yeah, that's been well documented. You're 100% right.
Oh yeah, and I never found any change. But I think if you hit certain profiles, if you match certain profiles, you could find yourself in some scary situations pretty quick.
So, and yes, John, I appreciate, or sorry, Jason, you mentioned that, they've had this rate all the time to be able to hold you up at the border 100%. But you know what, if you're looking for trouble these days, it will find you. And Mike, I have to agree, like why does my private life have to become public? Because we've got two nations that aren't getting along together. I kind of have to agree with this, Mike. And really, at the end of the day, I would be more suspicious of someone that had a burner phone than someone that had their personal. If they're willing to, concede their personal phone, then obviously that I don't believe that's someone we have to worry about. But if you're going to hand them a burner phone, like, I don't know, lights go off right away for me.
Yeah, but no news is good news, right? Suppose if you went to some sort of, say, a protest at the university and took some pictures of the protests, say, something that's hot in the news, yeah, you could find yourself in some trouble.
Interesting. Yeah, George, you nailed it. It's not necessarily new rules. They're just actively enforcing the rules that they've always had. But yeah, when I hear stories of this, students are leaving the U.S. because they're afraid of being like, now it's gone beyond fishing. This is, and as I said, this is what we don't want to do, is make this a political discussion. But at the end of the day, my biggest concern with all of this is there have been some great accomplishments. We have managed to set the bar very high. Yes, a lot of this is eroding, and we need to, put an influx of money to ensure that it's going to work in the coming years. But as far as we've come, I see it all falling apart, because you're going to have basically two bodies that aren't going to be willing to pay for any of it, or they're just going to turn around and say, you know what, so if that's on your side of the border, that sounds like a you problem. If it's on our side of the border, that's our. But there won't be any cooperative efforts in my eyes, and I'm hoping I'm wrong, but I don't know.
Well, it could even be as far as who gets the fish, right? Like if you're looking at divvying up every year, they meet and decide, okay, what side of the border, whose commercial fishers get to take how much quota out of the lake. They say, okay, there's going to be this many walleye caught in Lake Erie, you get this much, and they divide it up by quadrant, right? And the different quadrants get different parts of that share. It could just be that it could just say, forget it. That someone could just say, forget it. We're not participating in that, and just the first one who gets them gets them. It could become.
Yeah, I didn't even want to touch on this, but it is something that I think will become spoken about at great length and every single opportunity it gets. But when it comes to stocking and the amount of fish that our American brothers and sisters put into the Great Lakes and some of the neighboring bodies of water that filter into our Great Lakes, if that ever comes down the pipe where, what, we're putting in 1 million fish, you guys put nothing, what, we're entitled to 1 million fish, you get bupka. Like again, would it be out of the realm of possibility? Nothing is. There's nothing off the table right now. We didn't see this coming. I mean, who's to say what the next act is going to show for?
Well, you look at those islands out there on the Gulf of St. Lawrence, the Pierre Miquelon Island there, and they've been hit with a 50% tariff on their seafood exports to the United States. Most of the freshwater fish caught in the Great Lakes on the Canadian side commercially are sold back into the United States. And that's going to be a barrier. So our struggling commercial fishery on the Canadian side could be wiped out, unless we find the new markets for those fish that they're catching. But it's even we sell it to the American side, and then they sell it somewhere else. A lot of it ends up in American restaurants, but that market could dry up too. So there's our commercial fishery is getting impacted. That could very well happen. We already have tariffs, but some of the stuff I haven't heard that that's an issue yet, but it's definitely scaring people.
Oh, I would say I'm scared just talking about it. Thanks, George, for bringing this up, because that is a very important topic or something to mention. Freshwater fisheries management are the responsibility of the state, not the U.S. federal government.
For recreational.
Recreational.
Yeah.
So when it comes to commercial fishing, this is my concern for our commercial anglers.
Mm-hmm.
What that's going to turn into in terms of quotas when it comes to what we put back into the fishery. Again, scary times. Definitely we could talk about this all day and all night. But what I was thinking maybe we should do, because it seems to be a bit of a movement, and we've seen it just with the tackle industry. Maybe we should put together a list of Canadian branded canning options. So if you like eating fish out of a can, or you have seafood that you particularly like, maybe we should be sourcing Canadian examples of that. I mean, I think it's easy for anybody to say, well, if I want lobster, I'm just going to go to PI. Well, that's true, but where do you buy it to ensure that it's Canadian? So I think we should.
And where's it processed too, right? So even if it's brought in from other parts around the world and it's brought somewhere and processed and then sold across the border, like Costco, moves a lot of stuff back and forth across the border like crazy. Yeah. Walmart, same thing. So it might not even caught in the States; it just was processed there. But that could be caught up too. We don't know. Look, our agricultural sector, we export a lot of pork, we export a lot of beef to the United States. If that border gets slammed because of a 25% tariff, and there's no way once those animals head across the border to tell which, if they're Canadian or American, where they were born. So they're just not going to want them, because it's just going to make things problematic for the processors in the United States to include animals coming from Canada. So then all of a sudden we're going to have a whole lot of extra animals up here in Canada, a whole lot of extra farm animals that we're going to have to find some sort of use for, because the farmers can't just keep them as pets.
Yeah, no, true enough. I mean, anyway, I see us talking about this a lot in the coming weeks and months, because this isn't definitely going away anytime soon. I don't think we've dug too deep into it to give up now. But who knows? Anything is freaking possible with what's going on with this gentleman. So yeah. Anyway, it is what it is. I know you have some news items that you wanted to get to.
A bit, yeah.
So let's take that opportunity now, Lawrence.
So Canada, the government of Canada is investing $3.7 million in aquatic invasive species control measures in federal provincial actions to deal with this. We're talking about zebra mussels in Alberta and the controls there, and Manitoba as well. So yeah, we need a strategic approach. We need to look at this closely and understand, what works well in terms of monitoring and managing this stuff. We as anglers get around, we cross provincial borders all the time. So it would make sense to have some sort of federal provincial action on how to manage this, right? How do we make sure we're all pulling in the oars in the same direction and not working against each other? So there's some good news on that. Hopefully, we'll be able to get even better at that, because we know now, the number one movement of invasive species are people with boats and kayaks and canoes and things like that. That's the big one now.
It's so true. And 3.7 million, it may seem like a big chunk of money, but in the grand scheme of things, is it Lawrence, is that enough money?
It's a start.
It's a start.
It's a start. It's better than nothing, but it's a start for sure. Just to help get some initiatives going and sharing information. It's definitely it's a start, and we'll hopefully it'll build on that, and we'll get a handle on this movement of invasive species. I mean, it just seems crazy that these zebra mussels are just moving around so much, and gobies are spreading too, and we don't need that.
True enough. So true.
Hey, here's something. Yeah. So the very first dog in British Columbia, the very first dog that was trained on how to sniff out aquatic invasive species is retiring. He's 8 years old. He's done his work. He's tired of sniffing for zebra mussels and gobies and weird plants and things. So that's pretty cool that they could do that, you know?
And you wonder how many of those dogs do they have? Like I didn't even know they existed.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Well,
So
I mean, you can train a dog to do just about anything, and I guess I shouldn't sound surprised, but
yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, they teach them how to smell mold. They can smell mold in walls and wood and bridges and things like that. You can teach them that. Telephone poles. So this is, you can have them sniff your trailer, walk around your trailer, and they'll sniff for little zebra mussels hanging on the trailer. Well, who knows what they're training it for? It's just, maybe that's pretty cool. I'd love that job. Imagine I could get my seeing eye dog. He could get a job, a real job. Freeloader.
Yeah, but you know what? If you did that to him, he'd probably turn you in. He'd be like, "Yeah, see that guy with the stick? Yeah, you're gonna want to definitely pull him over. He's over the limit, and I live well."
Oh my God! When I bring the dog across the border and he meets his drug sniffing brethren right at the border, it's like, "Hey, Joe, how you doing? Back up, buddy. Back up."
Here's $20, but I want to play a trick on the guy behind the wheel. Well, I guess I should say in the passenger seat to be more frank. We don't want to. We'll get your insurance company upset with you. Any other news items that you wanted to share with us, Lawrence?
Yeah, there's a link that was in the news of the Canadian Water Agency. We held a meeting last fall where we brought a whole bunch of organizations together, non-government organizations, said, hey, how do we gather more information about what's going on in our water bodies across Canada, right, and share that information, get that into the right hands, so the scientists can understand what's happening in different parts of Canada, build up that database so we know, okay, what this is normal. This is normal for this lake, and if things start to change, we can understand. Okay, look, hey, that's changing, and some red flags can go up. The whole idea is to sort of get a jump on these things before they turn out bad, right? So
100%.
This is all dependent on us, and I think that's the call to action. Is really these government organizations, as big as they are and as much money as they have, they need people. And we're the people. We're the, in the end, these environmental groups that they're talking to, they have maybe 10 volunteers, 50, 100 volunteers, in their organization. I read a statistic. The International Association for Great Lakes Research, the IAGLR, I kind of like it. Sounds like angler. IAGLR. They said there's 2.8 million people that fish in the Great Lakes every year, from both sides of the border, recreational fishers. 2.8 million. They were publishing that number in a research report the other day. And our friends at Water Rangers, they just released a report that they developed for the World Wildlife Federation. They contracted that report out on the status of our rivers and lakes, our ecosystems, our aquatic health. And a friend of mine runs Water Rangers. I said, look, you should got to include fish health in there. That's the main indicator of the quality of the water quality research. How are the fish doing? So it was included in one of the 4 apps. This just was released last week. I'm going to have an interview with with 2 of the top people there from Water Rangers. That's going to be coming out shortly, and talking about the fish health results from across Canada in the different sort of watersheds. And no surprise, not a lot of data. This is an area of water quality research that's been sadly neglected for too long. Is the fish, we know they're sort of a canary in the cave, right? Yep. But other people say they just never thought about it. They just never crossed their mind or whatever. But it's happening now. It's ramping up, man. So fish health, and there's more role for us to help in gathering those samples. That's going to become more and more of a pressing thing for sure.
Wow. Well, I know you will keep us up to date on that.
Yep.
And if you folks want to listen to this piece or any other news article, head on over to bluefishradio.com.
Yeah.
There is a wealth of resources there available for you. You will literally go blind
No, it's blind friendly.
I'm just kidding. I probably should have watched what he said.
No, it's all good. It's all good. Your ears are going to go numb. Put it
You
that
have
way.
been
Your ears
so
will go
busy
numb.
collecting just a wealth of resources that really, at the end of the day, folks should go over there, take the time, because like a lot of your questions that you might have would be answered by a lot of the guests that Lawrence has had on. So I invite you to head over there. Bluefishradio.com.
Yeah, and we just got a request from the British Columbia Fishery Angler Association. They've got some news they want to share about some of the restrictions that are happening on the salmon fishing out there. And they've reached out and said, Lawrence, can we come on the podcast and talk about what's going on? So I'll reach out to them and organize that and have that to share with you soon.
Awesome, buddy. Look forward to it. As always, my friend. And again, we can't thank you enough. You are a huge piece of our puzzle that it makes us complete. And the amount of information that you provide our community, I can't thank you enough for it, dude. So
go, Scottie, go, man. Go, Canadian Fishing Network. You,
brother. Right on. We've got Jay Barnucz coming up right after a word from his sponsor. Lawrence, you have yourself a great week.
Thanks, bud. Yeah.
Peace.
The Finisher is one of the most unique baits I've ever seen.
This bait is designed to fish for forward-facing sonar, and you work it with quick, snappy strokes with a rod tip on the semi-slack line to give it a nice side-to-side action.
The lateral movement is insane.
It may go right twice, then left, then up, then down. I mean, it's all over the place.
Not only can you cast it out in front of the boat and fish it back towards you, you can also fish it vertically, so it allows you to change on the fly.
The thing that I really like about this bait is some of these fish are suspended. We might be in 30 to 35 feet of water. These fish might be 10 feet off the bottom. And this thing sinks a little bit slower than your typical real heavy glide baits. But what it allows you to do is keep the bait above those suspended fish.
You see a fish on your sonar and it might be out there 80, 90, 100 feet. This thing casts like a little bullet.
It also gets down to the fish very fast because it tends to tilt nose down and it sinks.
I can keep it down there in the strike zone and work it side to side, super aggressive. Man, it generates a bunch of bites.
It really is amazing at getting fish to react that you would not catch otherwise.
And there he is, the one and only Jay Barnucz. How you doing?
What's happening, man?
Oh, I'll tell you. Have you recovered from CanCast? Have you had the CanCast hangover?
Well, the running joke around here is my voice is going. So Heather thinks Trevor and I, we both. That's how bad it is. Our voices both going at the same time. So we got the finger wag today. We're like, that's the CanCast cold is what's happening. So,
and it's true. Like I want to say it's the show business.
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it, because at the end of the day, we come across a lot of people, and you're shaking hands, kissing babies, whatever. But at the end of the day, you do come across a lot of people, and who knows what ailment they've been fighting.
I know. This is the risk we take, buddy. The risk we take.
It truly is. Well, with your week off, have you managed to do anything exciting?
No, not really. You know what, man? I've actually been getting prepared for season, right? So
yes,
like doing a little inventory, thinking about things that I need and things that I want. So like here, I'll show you. I love CFN Live because it gives me an excuse. I check in with you guys at 6:45. So I have like an hour and a half in my fishing room. So it's all quality time. So these are you can actually still see some.
Oh, sweet.
So that's called a Berkeley hit stick, and it's just a little crankbait. They were designed. They're actually a balsa. They're plastic, but they're a balsa imitator. Like they fish like balsa, and I love them because one, they're cheap, and two, man, those stream brown trout love. That's a size 5, and if I can do it without hooking myself here. What's this one? Oh, those darn Fusion 19 hooks are tacky. So this one's a 5 and that's a 7. And what's cool about them, Scottie, is they actually float, like they full on float. And why is that good? Well, when we're fishing for stream trout, we throw these on little 6 foot, 6.5 foot, light or medium light. Like I'll go with like 10-pound fire line. It's kind of beefy, but it's because we're fishing for, I'm not going to say big trout, but larger stream trout in wood. And these will float. Like you toss them out and you just let the current work it for you. It'll float. I don't work it at all till it gets in front of the log jam. And then once it's in front of the log jam, you just close your bail and it just shoots down. And then you just hold your line in front of that log jam and let it dance. And those brown trout will just come out and just, if you don't hook them on the first drift, they'll usually show themselves. So then if it came out and you missed it, then you have to, like, it's there, either sit and wait 10 minutes or so, or just come back later. And so we do this like milk run of log jams on the local creeks that we fish. And these are like, I use a lot of other baits too, like quick fish and Panther Martins and stuff, but these little hard baits, and they weren't intended for stream trout. That's not what they were made for, but man, they have, and I just go with the bigger size like that for not for bigger fish, but mostly when the water's dirtier, I'll go up a size, and it casts a little further too. So if it's a little bit wider of a channel, I'll use the bigger bait. So, and yeah, we go out, we have a little box with about half a dozen of these, and that's like our entire day. It's awesome. And they're all less than $10. So if you lose one, you're not going to freak out too much, Scotty. Like,
no, that's true. That's true.
A little number 5, it's called a Berkeley hit stick, and a little number 5, I think they're less than $10 for a hard bait. So, and the hooks on them are awesome. To be honest, they're awesome.
I would. It's named appropriately by calling it the hit stick, because if I was casting, that's probably all I'd hit with it. But needless to say, yes, I've seen these become more popular. Is that a correct observation, Jay? Like when it comes to crankbaits in rivers, I'm starting to see a trend towards using these more so than, let's say, beads for that matter.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think, so what I've been finding, Scotty, is a lot of the places that we fish, these are small stream trout. And it's funny because you think with small stream trout, you want to maybe finesse them. But what I find is that trout are they're pretty much predatory all the time. Like, they're not nipping away. If you give them a good meal, they will take it. And so, especially larger ones. And we've been doing really well on crankbaits. I've tried, like, there's some great crankbaits out there. So I've tried like some of the heavier ones, like some of the countdowns and things like that. And they're just too heavy. That floating bait just allows me to work it over top of snags a lot easier. So trick though is that you do have to fish it on I'm going to call it a balanced outfit, but you don't want to go too light. So I'm running like a size, it's a 2000 Fluger with I like a 6 foot light rod, because it gives me enough, 1, length for casting distance, 2, it's short enough I can get in small cover, tight cover, but 3, I have enough backbone that I can put the boots to a bit bigger fish if I want to. Yeah, Rebel Creek Hopper. That's one of the original, like, there's the Rebel, and the Rebel Crawdad was another one, the crayfish one. Like, those are some sleeper baits that veteran steelheaders always have a couple in their bag. I'll throw, yeah.
Quick fish is the one that I
got a whole box of quick fish right over there, Randy. Absolutely. Like the K4 and the K7 quick fish, like those two sizes, the black and white or the skunk color, but also like a chartreuse. There's one that's a frog color. Very, like, I kind of like the natural colors. Like, these ones are trout colored. Like, this one seems pretty bright, but when the water's dingy, like if we've had a lot of rain, like recently, I'll go with a brighter color, no problem. So
I got to ask a great question that Steve just posted.
Yeah.
Do you tie direct, or do you use a small snap?
I'll give it away right here, Steve. I have a little snap. You can see the braid on there still. Yeah, right there. So I use a little snap, just a small one. Some of that is also too, is I'm using really fine braid, like 10-pound fire lines. So I want to get my knot right, and I can change 2 things. I can change that bait out real quick. I only have 1 rod rigged, and I'm in tight covers, and I'm usually like in the bramble, right? So I could pull that box out. I could change a bait fast and get back in there again. Having to retie, and my eyes aren't the best anymore, dude. But hey, having to retie. By the way, shout out to bit of an aside. Shout out to Smith Optics. Have you ever used Smith Optics? You heard of Smith Optics?
Can't say I have. No.
So I'll throw a link in the chat. Let me see if I can find them. Bifocal. So they make bifocal polarized glasses and nice ones. And I'm just going to throw them in the chat. Yeah, right here. Smith polarized glasses. And if you look up, if you search their website for bifocals, now I haven't fully committed to wearing reading glasses yet. I probably should. Everyone, if you want to get a pair, I bought a pair for work, Scottie, because I'm always identifying little tiny minnows, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I bought a pair for work because of a buddy who bought a pair. And I ordered them on Smith Optics, and you can get bifocal, and they're nice. They're like I've been a big Costa. I love my Costa sunglasses, the glass ones. I love them. But these Smith ones are bifocals, and they have a good wraparound lens. So they got good coverage. And for IDing small fish, they've been a lifesaver for me. So they're got to be good for tying knots too. So if anyone out there needs a good pair of bifocal fish reading glasses, that's literally what they're for. They're awesome.
That's really cool. And let's face it, we're all getting to that age. Not all of us. Some of us are like Randy and are ageless. Needless to say, some of us are showing our age, and a good bifocal that allows you not to trip over yourself, because that's the one reason I don't wear them, is because everything's closer down here at the bottom, and all of a sudden you're bumping into things, or you're scaring yourself that the coffee table just grew. But anyway.
And I think too, Scottie, so everyone that I know who uses reading glasses, there they are. Guides bifocal. That's what they are. So everyone who uses reading glasses, you buy them from like the pharmacy or the dollar store, because if you lose them, you lose them. But the quality of a polarized ones, and I'm big on polarized glasses. I can't stand. It's not even like the quality of the UVA, UVB, all that. If it's a poor quality glass, they get scratched. I scratch them so quickly, and once I have a scratched glass, it drives me nuts. And I carry the little cloth. I have like microfiber cloths all over me, and I'm always cleaning my glasses. I can't stand dirty. And dude, I'm a big sweaty guy. I still sweat a lot. Even a smaller version of me, I'm still sweaty, and I'm always cleaning my glasses because I can't stand smudges, scratches, anything. And so to get a good pair of sunglasses is important to me, and it's more about durability than eye protection. I think I'm still protecting my eyes when I do it, but durability. And I think the Smith Optics are great. They're great. So if you want a pair of, they're not cheap, but the ones I've seen are good quality. They'll last. I use my glass case. They come in. I used to lose my glass cases. I use them all the time now because my glasses are so important to me. So
that's cool. I did download a video thinking of Trevor, but he has some wonderful news that he shared with us. This is his last time watching the show from the sinks at Domino's.
Yeah.
Is he the manager now? Is he getting a promotion?
So I'm going to give a big shout out to the folks at Domino's. They gave him a great opportunity. A lot of us on the call here, we have kids, especially teenagers. And we know the importance of, and let's be honest, everyone, if you go to school and you put the time in, that's a full-time job. And then you add a part-time job on top of that. And he was just working too many hours. And he actually came to his parents while we were in Florida, and he called us. He's like, I'm working too many hours. I need a break. And I'm not going to say where he's going to work, but dude, the kid was offered the guy was offered a job pretty much on the spot, from the story goes. So he's a hardworking kid. We're proud of him for identifying a problem, fixing the problem. He went out and did the right thing. He did everything the right way. And we're proud of him for doing that. So I know a lot of young men and women his age don't get a lot of credit for doing things the right way these days. We hear a lot of crap on social media, but he did things the same way his dad or mom would. So I'm proud of him for that. Identifying, he loves it there, loves the people there. It's just too many hours, and his studies were suffering a bit. So he made a choice. I'm sure he could always go back there. You know, dude, every time you leave a job, you know, you want to leave a good impression, because you never know down the road what might happen and what you might need from a friend, right? So
100%.
yeah.
Always,
So
it was always words that I would adhere to and live by. On your climb to greatness, don't forget those who you pass along the way, because when you see them on the way back down, they're not going to be as happy and grateful to have known you.
Exactly.
Anybody on your rise to glory. Now, with that being said, you know, and I'm so glad that Trevor was able to acknowledge that there was a problem, because that's the first step in fixing one.
Yeah,
knowing there is one. But you know, when it comes to appropriateness, if you will, I have to ask Jay. I saw this week, and I thought, I can't think of anybody better to jump in on this. Is this appropriate or inappropriate?
Look at this guy on the subway. Brings the pike along. It's funny.
Okay. So I sent you a picture over the weekend.
Yes.
That was a little gruesome. Okay.
Yes.
And this is probably along the same lines. Let's be honest. Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, we could sit there and we could say, dude's out practicing. It's a privilege to go fishing. We could argue about rights or not, but I'm saying privilege, because it is a privilege to live where we live and get to do what we do. Yeah, dude caught a nice fish. He's hanging on the subway. I wonder sometimes with videos like this how staged they are. Like, let's hang a pike on the TTC and get ourselves on a few million views, right?
And I don't even know if this is illegal. Like, I don't know if these
I don't know. I don't think it's illegal, but it's kind of, I don't know. Imagine if you're the security guard on the subway. Like, what do you have to do? What do you do there? Like I'm happy you caught a fish. I don't want to be that guy, but it's like, dude, you could have been a little more tactful. And to be honest, I think about this a lot. Like, people will ask me, why don't you keep more fish? I'm very conscious of, like, if I'm going to keep a fish, I'm going to have a way to transport it home so it doesn't spoil. I'm big on that. Like, I am not going to, and I probably say this because I've never got sick from eating fish, but I've brought some fish home that were treated questionably because I didn't bring a cooler or something that day to take care of it. Right. So yeah, like, I think in that situation, you could be accused of even wasting the resource in that way. I don't want to get too political. So
I've always often wondered too, when it comes to coolers, and wink, nudge, nudge to all those out there making wonderful coolers. You do it for drinks, you do it for food, but I would imagine fish geared coolers. So a pike like that, you know, we have these big ones that, you know, you'd have to fit 4 or 5 bags in it just to get the surface area of whatever it is you're trying to keep cool. Whereas if you had an elongated cooler that allowed for 1 bag of ice to be distributed on top of, you know, 2 pike, let's say, that cooler would look a lot different than a traditional.
Okay. Can I show you something?
Absolutely.
I'm going to be right back. It's like 2 feet away. I got to grab it.
Oh, here we go. I love this. All right. Yeah. And George, to your point, have you been on the subway lately? Yeah. A hanging pike might not just do it when it comes to.
Yeah, I've seen weirder things, George. I agree. Okay. Check this out. Okay. This is a backpack. Okay.
Yep.
Amazon. Took it to Florida. This was my personal carry-on. I sat there, I measured this thing, like I researched this on Amazon because I wanted a bag I could, one, carry my CPAP machine in, okay, because I'm allowed to carry it on. It fits, like, the little pouch it comes in fits right inside, okay? So it's like 17 by 19 or something. It's got all these little pouches on here. It's got little pouches on the top. And dude, it's a cooler bag. So, like, this was used for day drinking by the pool in the hot tub in Florida, but easily this could be used for fishing. I was thinking about this, like, when I go catfishing and I bring a bunch of cut bait, which I don't want it to spoil, or a bunch of worms, I could put them in here with an ice pack, right? And I can wash it out. So like something like this, and it's a backpack, like it's easy to carry. It's got pouches for putting your tackle in, your phones in, stuff like that. It's great, man. So it's like $35 on Amazon. Fantastic.
Very cool. Yes, Richard, you have to actually look there. He does have a fishing rod. If you're asking about if the gentleman has a rod, there is a rod on the floor.
I agree with Randy. He chimed in about clickbait. When I see videos like that, my mind goes right to clickbait now. I see these staged videos, and I don't know if they're staged, but that's where my mind goes right now because people just want that media attention, right? So I wonder sometimes. So, but the one I sent you though, I don't know about this. The one I sent you, it was and I'll tell everyone on here. It was I'm not going to name the brand, but it could have been any brand, but it was somebody who caught a walleye from the Detroit River, and they were lifting it out of the water, and there was just blood gushing down the side of it because it was deep hooked, and they were promoting the company, and here's the walleye that we caught. Now they just kind of dangled the walleye and took a video with their phone, and it's like we don't need to see a bleeding fish on social media. Like, I don't know. You're just trying to incite a riot of some kind with certain groups. You know what I mean? And I think as anglers, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that.
No, I really don't, because it doesn't take much to incite a riot these days. People are literally are sitting on the edge of their seat, waiting for the next bang and boom to happen. So that anyway, but when I saw that right away, I said, it is a mainstay. It's just understood with Walt, Steve, and myself that when we see the videos or photos like that, we do our very best to try and hide it, or at least reach out to the individual and say, listen, we can't share that because it goes against our ethics. At the end of the day, our intent, our assumption is that every fish that is caught, the intent is to release it. That is not what happens, and we do not want to tell people not to enjoy a good meal of fish every once in a while. But when it comes to conservation, unfortunately, it has to be our mainstay. We have to assume every fish that's being caught is being released.
That's right. Like, and I think we just got to treat them with respect, right? So George, I'm going to send you a Berkeley hat. I got a brand new.
I was just going to say
new Berkeley hat. I'm going to send you one. Yeah. I can't. I need to do that. I have some real nice shiny red, and they are the reddest, shiniest hat you'll ever own, George. I'm so sending you one.
He loves his Berkeley. I tell you, I don't know who loves more, you or Berkeley.
It's as I don't know. It's not a guy thing. It's a friend thing. It's always the cut ups, right? And so, and especially in the fish world, man, we cut each other up. Like sometimes Heather hears conversations I have with like my good friends and we're all fish guys. And she's like, who are you talking to? And I'm like, oh, it's so-and-so. She's like, I would have thought you were talking to your worst enemy on the phone. And I'm like, oh, no. Like, we're good. Like, that's we just funny. It's all good, man. It's all good fun. So
yeah. Well, this is what it's all supposed to be, And
it is, man. It's all meant to be fun.
Hopefully folks can take it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man. What else has been going on? Well, dude, rain, dude.
I was just gonna ask, obviously when it comes to species, catfish, suckers, but rainbow, you've got to be thinking rainbow at this time of year.
Yeah, no. Like, so down here, the rainbows are full spawn down here, and they're full spawn everywhere. There's been rainbows running. But again, we haven't had the warm temps though. Like we're getting, so when we talk about fish spawning, we often in the fish world, we talk about these things called growing degree days. It's the same as crops, right? Like we need so many days of a certain degree to get things moving. And one thing that really gets things going in the spring for spawning is nighttime lows above zero. I think once you see a week of weather where the nighttime lows are above zero and the highs are in that, like maybe not pushing 20, but like double digits, like 12, 14, 15 degrees, that really gets things going. It truly does. Dude, we're going back down to -4 here again tonight. Like where I am, like it's cold again. Like we just keep resetting those growing degree days. And we're just not seeing, like what it's going to happen is, I guess what I'm saying is it's just prolonging things, Scottie. Things are going to take longer now. A couple years ago, the middle of April is like really good time for big channel cats. It can be, and they're around, but I don't think I think we're a little bit delayed. I think it's because we're just a little cool right now. Like the Grand River today in Brantford and in the Lower Grand, like it touched 10 or 12 a couple days ago, but it's still 6-7 degrees. It's just not. So things are there. The suckers are there to catch. The catfish are there to catch. The steelhead are moving. Dude, the walleye are moving. Everything's moving. But we just won't see a good spawn until we get a little bit warmer water in some places. So
and the other thing too, and I, you know, Mike, you've spent a little bit of time on the rivers, and I know you've been out scouting yourself, Jay. When it comes to water levels, you know, it seems to me anyway, in this little area that I live, that we've done a great job managing the water because it was extremely high at the height of the storm.
Yeah,
it seems to have receded quite dramatically to the point where it's almost at normal levels now. Is it like that your neck of the woods as well?
No, we're still up there. Like the big, I guess it depends what river you're looking at. So we're gonna do this in real time because I love watching rivers. Like I love watching Mother Nature when she gets real sassy and gives us a hard time. So this here, okay, so that's Big Creek. That's Big Creek. See that line right there? Whoops,
Yep.
right there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's like the 5-year average for this time of year.
Oof.
Okay. So just for numbers, so this is in cubic meters per second. So I always tell people every river is a different cubic meters per second because it's a different shaped pipe, right? So the pipe is different volume. So rivers respond differently based on the size of the pipe. Small pipes will ramp up really high and then drop really fast. Big pipes will ramp up slow and then drop slow. So this part of Big Creek, like normal flows are around 8 CMS and it hit 32 on the weekend. That was after that big rain on last Wednesday, right? Dude, it gets better, man. There's some really cool stuff. So I'm going to show you one from the Grants. This is one of my research study sites. Grand River at Brantford. So it hit, and this is just to show you. So normal flows this time of year is around 50 CMS.
Holy smokes.
It hit 800 CMS on Friday. 800. Like that's fully in the fields. Like I'm sure there was a fish kill of some kind. This is all natural, but because the fish get washed up in the cornfield, because the water's in the cornfield. Like the water it's amazing. And this happened all over Ontario. I was a bit of a fanatic this weekend, like doing stuff around the house. It was also my mother-in-law Bev's birthday. Happy birthday, Bev. We had a good time Saturday. But like I was on the weather Facebook pages, like the storm reports. I was looking at all the crazy high water. It's like watching, this is horrible to say, it's like watching a train wreck. I can't not watch it. I love when Mother Nature gets really mad and she just does what she wants with us. And that was one thing that she ruled the roost this past weekend, man. Like it was even last Wednesday, like I got stuck in Burlington, man. There was more traffic accidents. Here's what I did. Instead of driving home at 3:00 like I usually do, I went and found a restaurant with a big screen TV, and the Jays were playing the Mets, and I went and sat and I watched the Jays, or they're playing the Nationals, and I watched the Jays game. I didn't leave Burlington till 6:00 when things like settled down. But then when I was driving through Brantford, I don't think I've ever driven in rain like that for a long time. It rained hard, and it rained. I think Brantford got 60 millimeters that day. 60. That's almost 3 inches of rain.
It freaking poured. Like, I mean, like to your point. Holy, yeah. Anyway, so, but great to hear that the water levels are still up. So we're getting ready for spawn.
Yes.
But I will say around here, it is as quick as they went up, they drop back down. So
yeah, like I think what we're gonna see is we're not seeing any warm weather this week. Like we're at, or I say warm weather. I'm just using the word seasonal. So we're at or below seasonal all this week for Southern Ontario. And then even next week, we're just touching seasonal. And even at night, we're going to maybe even get some snow flurries the odd night. So there's going to be a lot of rainbows around. I predict there'll be a lot of steelhead around opening day because they've run up now. but they're going to take their time spawning because it's not that warm yet. They're still in the motions of it, but they're not in a rush right now. That water temperature is not quite too warm. So I'm going to guess there'll be a lot of fish still around opener because we're only doing, what are we, 3 weeks from opener?
I was just going to say, isn't it 3 weeks away?
Not even. We're 2.5 weeks. Like, yeah, because it'll be 2 weeks from Saturday. So yeah, we're under 3 weeks to opener. So
unreal. And this weekend, as much as we'd love to have you at the Made in Canada, you are also taking part in a tradition that you have done for a number of years. You might want to mention that before we.
Yeah, no, for sure. This weekend. So like, and again, Kitchener sounds awesome. I wish I could be there. But I'm doing an annual. I go to Jocelyn's store, Angling Outfitters, every year for their spring sale, and I got invited back again. And we talked about this, Scottie, about relationships and just building relationships and maintaining those relationships. And as much as I want to come to Kitchener, and Trevor and I are both thinking about going, like we're gonna go to Jocelyn's store and see those guys and just hang out there for the day and promote their store. So, I don't really have a favorite store. I love all the stores, man. Like I try to stop at the mall. I'm friends with so many store owners across the province, and I'm not going to play favorites. And they're good to me and I'm good to them. I try to be, right, build those relationships. And I'm looking forward to seeing them. But dude, I can't believe the interest. Like I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, dude, it's awesome. I was listening to the pre-show about Kitchener, and it's all coming together, dude. It sounds amazing. It really does. Congrats, buddy. Congrats to you and Brad for pulling that off.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jay. And as I said, we couldn't have done it without, folks like you in the past and even in the present still, pumping our tires and supporting what it is we're doing. But I do respect and honor traditions, and one that happened this past weekend. It's a great segue. Of course, Steve mentioned that Vladdy got his contract.
Yeah. I told Heather today I could finally get my Vladdy jersey now. Like I was never going to buy a Vladdy jersey until he signed that big contract. So
I don't even want to talk
get my
about
Vladdy
it.
jersey now.
14 years at that kind of money.
You know what, buddy? In 5 or 7 years, that money is going to be peanuts. Like that's the reality of pro sports. Like it seems like a lot right now, but I'm not saying because it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. Like you see the looks Heather gives me when we're driving home in the van, and she hears these kind of numbers, and like she can't hide her emotion. She's like, "What the bleep is?" And I'm like, "But in a few years, that's going to be like that big contract won't be a big contract anymore, right?" So, but the Jays had to make a choice, and they had to. Vladdy held them to task, like I think in a very good way, though. Does that make sense? Like I don't think he was a jerk about it. He's like, "Come on, guys. I don't want to have these distracting us from the season. I want to deal with this now." So I'm a little annoyed with ownership for delaying it, or if they were going to not do it, then just don't do it. Just tell them and move on. So yeah, we got Vladdy. So, but now he's getting paid. So now he's got to play now. Right. So,
yeah. Now the other tradition that is as popular as fishing here in Canada, of course, is hockey. And something that happened just recently, and I'm sure unless you've been sleeping and working midnights during the day, you didn't hear the news. Perhaps, I don't know, but the great one and his goal accomplishment has been surpassed by Ovechkin. And I thought, when you saw it, it was a passing of the torch. It really was. And for those who were here on this earth to see Gretzky pass over Gordie Howe and the tradition that created, it was then rehearsed and exercised again this past weekend. I thought it was so cool that Gretzky's wife, I can't think of her name. Why can't I think of her name?
Janet Gretzky.
Janet Gretzky. Thank you. She remembered Gordie Howe presenting her with this incredible gift. So she did the exact same and went over the top. I don't know how many diamonds was in this ring that she bought her, but I mean, I can't even begin to imagine what it was worth. But these little traditions, and
I got to say, like, I know that Wayne took some heat during the Four Nations for not being more Canadian. Like the dude's Canadian. Like he's not even just Canadian. He's hockey.
Yeah.
Like, he is a hockey legend. Like, you can't expect him to walk by the United States bench and not greet them. Like, yeah, it would have been nicer if he wore the jersey that night. I'm not gonna lie. If I was him, I would have wore the jersey. But then, and I was never disappointed in him. But when you heard him speak, like, he was even praising the refs, and everyone booed the refs, like, in the speech. But I don't mind. He's Wayne. He's gonna take the high road. He's Wayne freaking Gretzky. Like,
Yep.
Yeah, it was, and that was all class. That was all class, the way they handled it. And I'll even give, I'm not a huge Ovechkin fan, and I have my reasons, but I'm not like, he's not my number one. I'm more of a Sid the Kid guy. But I'll tell you this, if you watch the game previous, which I did, when he tied it, he had a chance to score the go-ahead record on an empty net, and he chose not to. So, which is the right decision to give it, because otherwise the critics will, knock that record down all day long, right? So no, he did it the right way, and it was an awesome shot. Everything just played out perfectly. So yeah, shout out to Ovechkin. It was great. Shout out to Wayne for being all class, right now, us Canadians, we need more class, and we got
Buddy,
it.
I literally, you just ripped that out of my, because I'm telling you what he did to Andre Fleury. The night to honor him in his last game.
Yeah.
Held everybody back. Everybody shook his hand and what have you. Like, that was initiated by Ovechkin and nobody else.
Yeah.
And some of the things that I was critical of him, I'm now starting to see that, you know what? No, he's not.
That's why I just said, like, I'm turning my tune around with Ovechkin because of what he did for Andre Fleury. And like, I think for a long time, I didn't like his attitude or his play a little bit. Like, he was a natural, like, he's a generational player. I absolutely. But seeing how now he's, and let's tie this back to fishing, right? Setting an example for the future generation, right? So, and that's what he's doing. He's setting that example as how a veteran should be setting that example. And he's impressed me this farewell tour that he's on, basically, right? He's impressed the heck out of me on that. So kudos to him for sure.
You and me both, brother. Before we let you go, anything else you wanted to mention?
No, man. No, that's it. We're and I was emailing the Trevor. I'm like, where'd you put all my hard baits? I was texting him at work because when I realized today that we're 2 weeks from opener, I'm like, whoa, I got to do a little inventory here. Got to make sure I got enough of the goods for that. So we're fishing rooms getting the rollover. We're getting into trout and catfish season, so we're going to be doing that. And dude, we're 6 weeks away from May long weekend. Walleye and bass opener on Nipissing. Like, it's coming fast, dude. Fast.
Too fast. Almost too fast.
Yeah. No.
Well,
so let's hope that the Leafs have a good playoff run. Because if I have to watch another losing game on trout opener, I'm going to be one disappointed angler. Let me tell you. When I'm in my buddy's barn, I love trout fishing all day, hockey at night. That is my trout opener tradition the last half dozen years, and I won't change that now. And I'm going to tell you, I want to see Leafs win on trout opener on a playoff game, or I'm going to be one miserable person. That's it.
Well, I wanted to take this one step further because there was a stat that was shared during that whole ovation of Alexander Ovechkin and surpassing the great one, Wayne Gretzky's goal limit. But they said Austin Matthews, if he stays on the current course, because I thought it could never be done in my lifetime, and to see Ovechkin do it, they're saying it would take 8 to 9 years for Austin Matthews to surpass what Ovechkin has managed to do.
I know.
That's stunning.
Yeah. I think the only thing that for Ovechkin, like the whole number of games, I didn't realize his number of games was so close. I thought that Gretzky did it much faster than him. I did, until I saw the stat. I'm like, holy, wow, like that was impressive, right? So, but Matthews will surpass. He's on the track to surpass both of those records. So, I know. Well, I'll leave you with this though, Scottie, and this is for next week's show. Okay.
Okay.
I listened to a podcast today. I'm going to send you this podcast. I'm going to give you homework. You're going to get homework on this one.
Okay. All right.
Podcast. And I didn't even know this was a thing. In Lake Erie, now I knew there was always Cisco in Lake Erie, like historically, then they died out. In Lake Erie from the late 1800s until the 1950s, and it peaked in the 10s and 20s. Lake Herring and Lake Erie was the biggest commercial fishery in the Great Lakes, period. There was more Cisco tonnage harvested than all other species combined at one point in the 1920s. That includes lake trout, walleye, everything else. Wow. The Cisco population in Lake Erie was booming 100 years ago, and it crashed because of water quality issues. And so I'm going to send you a podcast where they interview a biologist from Lake Erie Bio from Ohio, and they talk about that. It's the Big Water, the Big Water podcast with the fella from Ohio. It's a really good episode. They talk about Cisco's. I've been doing some digging. So we're going to talk about that because we see what Cisco's are doing in Superior to those big, like they're a great forage base, but how do we, they seem to be inconsistent. So there's talk about reintroducing Cisco to Lake Erie because the lake's getting better, right? It's getting healthier. So anyways, we'll talk about that next week.
Very cool. Look forward to it, Jay.
All right.
Thanks as always, brother. I really appreciate your time and your support. We couldn't do any of this without the Barnucz family. So
my pleasure, buddy. We'll talk to you next week, dude.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
Right.
Take care, Jay. All the best. And that is a wrap of our show, folks. As I said, thanks so much for joining us as you always do on a Monday. I can't emphasize enough the Made in Canada fishing show that is happening this weekend in Kitchener. We have 60 plus Canadian tackle brands and vendors that are going to be joining us. It is going to be quite a spectacle, and we're really looking forward to all of you making it there safely and supporting Made in Canada, because at the end of the day, everybody needs some help. And this is a great final show to sort of kick off what is going to be an incredible softwater season with some incredible new products. So get out and enjoy this last weekend of fishing shows, and we look forward to having you there. The folks at Bingemans have rolled out the red carpet, to say the least, for us and our entire community. So we look forward to seeing you all there. In the meantime, stay classy, stay out of trouble, and if you can't, write a story down or two. Love to share it, maybe on a live. Anyway, you guys take care. Love you all. Have a wonderful week. Peace.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights, the party's over. They say that all good things must end.